Hey everyone, this is Sean from the Pompey Games Room. Today we're going to look at a real early release game for the Genesis Megadrive, Altered Beast. Altered Beast was originally a massive arcade hit in 1988, and between the years of 1988 to 1990 it would see releases on the Megadrive and Genesis consoles across Japan, North America and Europe. It would get its first release in Japan on the 27th of November 1988, and would go on to be released on the Master System, Genesis Megadrive, NES and PC. So getting into the game now, then it's pretty straightforward to start off a game. You literally just press start and straight away you're into the game. So due to the fact we've just literally gone straight into this game, I didn't really have much time to talk to you about the storyline. You play as a centurion that's been raised from the dead by Zeus to save his daughter, who has been captured by a demon called Neph. Now we're going to see that demon Neph at the end of this level, as you actually have to fight him as a boss at the end of each level. Now the bosses in this game are pretty imaginative, as you're going to see throughout this review. I don't know many other games where you would have had to fight an ogre crossed with a tree and a plant that spits eyeballs at you. But who am I to poke fun at a game that would become a packing title for the Mega Drive in its early years and go on to sell millions of copies worldwide. Now you may have noticed the Centurion has been changing throughout the level as I've been picking up these little power-up orbs. Once you collect the 4th orb throughout the level, you'll turn into a beast, which changes depending on what level you're on. Each of these beasts has a different special attack and can make for much easier gameplay. Beasts on this game consist of a werewolf, a were-dragon, a were-bear, were-tiger and golden werewolf. So now we see the first boss on this game, which as you can see is an ogre crossed with a tree. Now as with most side-scrolling beat 'em up bosses in the 16-bit era, there was a sequence which you could hit the boss. Basically you wanted to try and get as many hits in whilst avoiding these falling heads that are being thrown at you. Also, just to make you aware that bosses on this game do take an awful lot of hits, and it does help if you've managed to turn into a special character for the level. Now whilst we're fighting this boss it's going to take a little while, so I thought we'd just touch on some of the special attacks for the beasts on this game. The werewolf, which I'm using on this level as you can see, can perform a flaming dash attack and also throw balls of fire and rock. The were-dragon, which you'll see later on in this review, can fly, obviously, breathe lightning bolts and use what is called a laser barrier on this game to kill multiple enemies on the screen at one time. The were-bear has a spinning body attack and can also turn people into stone. The were-tiger can throw fireballs and also dash along the screen, much like the werewolf, with the golden werewolf basically being a more powerful version of the werewolf that you get on the first level and the character that you've just seen. Now you may have just noticed there that you lost all the power-up orbs that you collected throughout that level. This meant that your character would revert back to his human state for the beginning of the next level, and would mean that you would once again have to collect the power-up orbs in order to turn into a special character. So here we are then at the beginning of the second level now, and I'm just going to keep quiet now for a few seconds so you can take in some of the sounds in this game.
Power up! Power up!
So as you can see now, we've turned into a special character for this level, which is the were-dragon. So with the were-dragon obviously we get the different abilities, and obviously now we come to the boss for this level, which is an eyeball spitting plant. Now as I said on the first boss, I'm sure there was a sequence to how to kill this boss, but I'd never actually played this game before doing this review, so please excuse the poor gameplay during this boss fight in particular. Now while we're watching me get owned by this boss here, I thought I'd just talk about this game a bit more in general. It was actually a very early Genesis game in Japan, as it came out nearly a month after the system release. And I've got to admit, if this was one of the first games that you ever bought or played on your system, it couldn't fail to show you what the Genesis was capable of, as this game incorporated loads of voice clips, absolutely loads of sound effects, and pretty good music. And coming from a generation that would have seen systems like the NES and the Master System as the mainstream consoles, it would have been virtually impossible for any developer to fit most of these things onto a game's cartridge. Unlike the Japanese version of this game, the North American and European versions would both be released on the day that the Megadrive and Genesis was released. This game would form an important part of Sega's next generation console release, as it was heavily publicised with TV ad campaigns, magazine and newspaper articles. In fact, this game did so well in the early days of the Megadrive that it became the first packing title with the console until it was replaced by Sonic 1 in late 1991. Now, you may remember at the beginning of this review I said that there was a version of this game on the NES. This version was only available in Japan and it was released in July of 1990. Now obviously, it's never a big shock to see arcade hits ported to all different systems, but it may come as a shock to you to find out that all versions of this game, even the NES version, were developed by Sega. Just to prove this to you, here's a picture of the NES cartridge, and boxed in red towards the bottom are the words 1990 Sega. Now the one thing I don't understand about this is that this game was a real big hit on the Megadrive and a real big hit for Sega. It's difficult to see why Sega felt the need to go and make a game for Nintendo, who would end up being their biggest rivals for the next 10 years. On the back of the Master System NES and the Megadrive Super Nintendo rivalry that went on during the late 80s and throughout the 90s. The Altered Beast series of games would go on to see further releases on the PlayStation 2 and Game Boy Advanced, and was more recently ported to the Virtual Console and Xbox 360. Anyway guys, I'm coming to the end of this review. I just wanted to thank you for checking this out. If you want to get hold of a copy of this game, due to this game's massive popularity, you won't have a problem finding it, as it's one of the first games that you'll usually stumble across in any retro game store or on places like eBay. So until next time guys, thanks for watching.